Hello everyone, welcome to this mobility talk. As you know, this month we are continuing to explore the Southern Europe ecosystem. We had a small pause last week because we were at the award ceremony of the European Startup Prize for Mobility, and this is a great transition for me because this morning I'm really happy to welcome Candace Saffery from Bia Power. Hi, Candace.
Hi.
We'll talk about it later, but you are one of the top 10 winners of this European Startup Prize for Mobility 4th edition. So we are really happy to have you with us this morning. We'll discuss together and we'll try to better understand the Spanish market, the Spanish ecosystem, and see how it works. As you know, these talks are brought to you by the Mobility Club, an accelerator platform dedicated to mobility players who wants to better understand the mobility ecosystem and to be better connected to the startups. Don't hesitate to present yourself in the chat box and also to ask your questions. We'll address them at the end of this 15 minutes talk. So maybe, Candace, we can start just by introducing yourself and what is Bia Power.
Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and hopefully that we have a. I know it's a quick talk, but hopefully we can get through a lot. So Bia is a software company, and we focus specifically on electric vehicle charge management, and we take a perspective which sort of groups chargers together. So we can do virtual groups of homes, but more often we look at environments where there's fleets being charged together, or there's multi-use parking sites where there's different brands of chargers or different numbers of chargers behind one meter. And what we do there is twofold. First, we really look at data management and data services. So we help our customers understand what's happening from an EV load perspective, from the cost of that load. Is there flexibility in that load? Is there something that we could do from an optimization angle to actually make it cheaper and cleaner to charge those vehicles? And this can happen, as I said, from a single charger. We can help and give some optimization and some understanding. But when there's groups of chargers, there's a lot more complexity in just getting the basic business intelligence. And then the second part of work that we do is a real-time application where we actually control the charging events. So we stop, start, and slow down charging events so that we can then lower the peak loads. We can move, in Spain, we have very expensive energy. We can, if they're on a tariff, we can shift not just the peak load, but we can also coordinate that with cheaper tariff times. We also look at optimizing around battery health and energy mix if they have on-site solar or if they want a cleaner mix from the grid. And then we also do some demand response and are starting a vehicle to grid project. So the real-time optimization has to do with controlling the charge based on what we're seeing from the data analysis on load models. We predict the load model coming up and the flexibility in it, and then control it to deliver a much more efficient charge.
Nice. So your startup is located in Spain, Barcelona, even if you're from Toronto. Could you maybe explain us a bit how is structured the market in Spain? How is it working, the collaboration between the different actors?
Yeah, so Spain has got some really great targets over, the next 10 years for 2030. I think the goal is around 5 million EVs on the road and over 300,000 charge points. So they've got some really aggressive and great goals both on the energy mix side and on the EV adoption side. And I think that there's, similar to other markets, almost every player has got a piece of the pie right now. It's really impressive, I think, what the utilities and energy companies are doing within charging, installing charging corridors and networks, and with internal goals for big charging networks coming from the utilities, as well as sort of independent players on the installer and the EMSP side, and on the even on the OEM side. So it's similar to other markets where there's a lot of players engaged in the market, but also some very significant, utility and retailer investment as well in the space. So I think it's going to happen. There's some great goals here and some great people. So it looks like it's on track.
Nice. And is the relationship easy with the public institutions? Because we know that they have a specific role in this rise of the EV market.
Yeah, I think it's, we've worked with different groups, and there's, from a startup perspective, we want to grow with the public institutions as they grow. So they have, as I said, really nice aggressive targets. They've got plans that make sense from an EV adoption and from an energy market perspective. So we want to figure out the best way to play with them and to get engaged as well. And so there is, and I don't think they can change this, but sometimes there's longer timelines, going through tender process or having to go through a minor process to actually get commercial projects. But it looks like we have got them. So we're working with EMT in Madrid, we're working with TMB in Barcelona, we're working with Infrastructura. So we do have really actually good relationships and projects coming online with the public institutions. So we feel really excited about that, and we really feel like we're a part of the landscape here.
Nice. Mm-hmm. For the first talk of the month, we received Sergio Diaz from Connected Mobility Hub, and they're based in Madrid. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, is Barcelona the startup hub in Spain, or it's what's the difference between Barcelona and Barcelona?
Well, maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but I love Barcelona, and we've got a great startup community here. I know that there are also really good things happening in Madrid as well. But maybe it's just because I know Barcelona better, but there's definitely there's a strong community, and there's a lot of organic connection here in different workspaces that we see around the city, that there's a lot of engagement, and hopefully we'll see more collaboration as the space we're really more focused on the mobility and energy side, but there seems to be more companies coming to Spain, actually even in the last year. So I think it's been, it's really good, but they're both hubs.
Maybe it's more related to the headquarters from some companies like SEAT or some big events also that take place in Barcelona, because it gather this community.
Yes, and that we really see that when the events happen. That everybody sort of comes out of the woodwork, and it's been hard, of course, the last 2 years with everything remote. So I think 2 years ago we would have been a very strong yes, and now it feels like it's it's a little bit more dispersed. But there's really good events that bring everybody together in Barcelona. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And like I said in the introduction, so you are one of the 10 proud winners of the European Startup Prize for Mobility Award of this year. What do you expect from this prize, and how do you think it will accelerate you?
Well, hopefully we get good exposure with both potential partners on the commercial side and fundraising. So the biggest thing for us is that we get new contracts. We really we're in scale up mode. We've spent we're 3 years old now. We've spent the last 3 years really building out our tech, our product market fit. We feel like we understand the Spanish ecosystem. We've got some really nice strategic partners here. But with this prize, we're hoping, we've opened Belgium. We've got some, fingers crossed, some stuff happening in France in the next couple of months. But really to open up Europe for us would be, we're hoping that, no pressure, but that we get, really good connections through it. And the first priority is really commercial growth. So, hopefully there's, utilities listening, or there's CPOs listening, or there's OEMs or installers that want some software that they can layer in to be able to, coordinate across different types of hardware, to integrate systems, and then to really optimize the charge. So I think if we can get that message across, that we do need to grow EV charging infrastructure, but we need to grow in a way that's orchestrated and coordinated. And this is what we're seeing almost on every site, is that different brands are showing up, different installers are showing up, and then you have a site that's not easy to manage from a virtual perspective and not easy to coordinate on the load perspective. So hopefully we can get that message out from a commercial perspective. And then as we grow, of course, we're going to need funding. And we know that there's a nice network that does watch this from the funding perspective. So hopefully we get some nice leads there as well, so that we can complement that as we expand through Europe.
Nice. Yeah. And for our audience, please note in your agenda that next week we'll be in Toulouse during the ITS European Congress on Tuesday 31st. We'll have this investors startup pitch happening on Tuesday morning. So I will send you a link in the chat box. So don't hesitate to register if it's not already done. Candace, maybe we can take a few questions from the audience. Someone is asking you if you can present us the business model of Bia Power.
Yes. So there's the business model we have today and then the business model of the future. So what we do right now is we run a SaaS model. So we have an implementation fee to set up the ecosystem. And that's, can be anything from a small system, 2,500 up to, 25,000 euros. Just really depends on the system. The electric bus systems are much more, have much more integrations and a bit more sophistication. And then smaller parkades are, obviously, quite simple to set up. So we do ecosystem setup, and then we do a licensing fee per asset connected. So a regular passenger vehicle is a lower amount per fee, a licensing fee per month, and then the buses are obviously a bit more expensive. And we really price that around, we know even if we just did tariff optimization or if we avoided some big infrastructure costs, that we're always going to have our customers cash flow positive just from savings. So where we're going to move to is, as the ability for us to participate in grid services like demand response, and then maybe a couple of years later, vehicle to grid on a commercial scale, as we move into that, we really want to be able to have free onboarding and move people into a shared savings and a shared revenue model. So that's where we're going with it, which we think is a really powerful model for being able to scale quickly and to really reduce any barrier for onboarding. But right now, we really do, we do like a deep analysis to get started for the site and run simulations so that, our customers are gaining confidence in our ability to optimize. So as we're doing that right now, we sort of set up that ecosystem and run many scenarios and sort of tweak the optimization engine so that we're really growing with the customer and sort of matching their needs per site. So that will always happen in the back end, but yeah. So right now it's a SaaS model, and then we'll move into a shared savings, shared revenue model.
Nice. And Vianney from BNP is asking you, who are your competitors in Europe? And do you have some?
Yeah. Of course we do. So I would say there's quite a few in Netherlands, and some of them have already either, exited with other companies or partnered up. So I would say like Greenflex, EV.Energy in the UK, Calusa, Green Lots, there's a couple of them. So there's a lot, and this is one of the things when you look at competitors or the landscape right now, everybody is saying they're doing smart charging. Everyone's saying they're optimizing this. So, and everyone's defining it themselves. So I just defined it for you the way we do it. Yes. So I think there are competitors that are doing software that are doing some level of smart charging. I think what's different about Bia is that we are doing coordination across any hardware brand. And we're doing it specifically right now in either virtual pool environments or in physical environments where we have real constraints from a capacity perspective and a peak load perspective. So we've really focused on behind the meter savings in these sort of environments. And that's because that's where we're seeing the most urgency in a lot of the inbound calls. So we have a bit of a different go-to-market strategy and then quite different tech as we've built our own prediction AI and our own optimization algorithm that can really, I think what's different is that we can optimize against multiple constraints, not just one. So I think there's definitely some differences between us and the competitors, but yes, the space is hot. There's almost everyone's website will say they're doing smart charging, which is great. I think it's just getting under the surface a little bit and finding out what feature is required for which environment, and that's where the sophistication comes in.
Okay, nice. Thank you. And maybe one last question from Vincent from VID. Are corporate startups relationships well developed in Spain versus other countries? Do you see any difference? I know that you were in France last week to work with a corporate. Do you think it's the same thing or it's kind of different?
I think it's probably more based on corporation than country. Some are, every corporation is going to say that they want an innovation arm and that they want to work with startups. Some have just a lot more experience with it. And some have quicker sort of operational processes that gets you into the right person. And I think I don't want to say it's a country, I'd say the corporation that can give you what I would call like an internal hero, someone who is your internal reference point. They are the ones that push you internally. They're the ones that really understand you. When you get that internal hero or that internal representative, those are the projects that actually start to work, because if they're aligned with making it work and they're within the business. And I would say within innovation, they can be sometimes looked at as pet projects. But when you get someone in the commercial side that's actually, representing you to the business, that's where it seems to take off quicker.
Yeah, of course. Thanks a lot. Well, I think that's it for today. It was really interesting. Thanks a lot for all your insights. So next month, for your information, we'll be focusing on the used car market in Europe and its innovation. And we'll have speakers from Hohenberger and EVO, who are already confirmed. It was really nice to have you here with us today. Thanks a lot, Candace. I wish you plenty of luck for the development of Bia Power, and I'm sure the European Startup Prize will help you in that. And see you in a bit in a real other event. I hope so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.